Hey everybody, welcome back to the Flipping Junkie podcast. I got a special episode for you today. I'm going to call this a leadership lesson, and maybe I'll start doing these on a regular basis where it's just me talking about things that I'm going through. I do have a new mentor and coach in the business, and so we're talking a lot about a lot of this stuff. So I want to, pass along some of these things that I've been learning, as I go and help a lot of you. I know a lot of our customers in Forefront CRM, are really interested in leadership these days, and a lot of focus on business itself, working on the business, and then leadership as well. And so I want to cover these topics from time to time in between interviews of great guests. I'll continue to do those, but thinking right now to just call these leadership lessons for now, like the ring of that. And we'll start with this one. So are you wasting time every month, week, and even day really dealing with symptoms of bigger problems in your real estate investing business? I want you to take some time to look and see if the things that, at the beginning of the week, if you're saying, I've got to deal with this, I got to deal with that, I got to figure this out. Take some time to consider whether those are symptoms or a bigger issue that's at work or at play here. Because, you have an opportunity each time that you do that to knock over a big domino that drops hundreds of small dominoes, right? And so instead of, spending all this busy time doing the wrong thing, working in the wrong forest, knocking over the small dominoes one at a time, consider whether something else might take care of that, right? And that could be a bunch of different things. It could be, the book Who Not How is a good one from Dan Sullivan. And things like that, and it might be a who instead of a how, right? But this idea of dropping big dominoes instead of hundreds of small dominoes is one that's been around for a while, right? And there's a book called The One Thing, I think, that talks about it in that way. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is not because of that book. I haven't read that book in a really long time, The One Thing, but it is a good book and it talks about that. But specifically the situation that I noticed at a mastermind that I was recently at last week, actually at the end of last week. Great mastermind, great people, love all the people there, and the host of the mastermind and all that, awesome. It's really great. But I did notice a pattern, right? And maybe this is even me noticing it because I'm, it's something that I need to notice for my own business. So, I'll own that. But it was interesting. I think this could be helpful for a lot of people because at this mastermind, as in all masterminds, investors are put in what's called the hot seat. So each time that the mastermind meets, if somebody's got something they're struggling with or trying to work through, they can take the hot seat and explain, talk about their business, talk about what they do. So there's context, and then talk about the struggles that they're having and elicit that feedback from, more experienced investors in the room, or even just people that have been through the same thing and can share, ideas on how to overcome that, right? Which is awesome. That's what it's all about, right? Becoming, doing more because, there's more brains there, more minds there, and people have experienced different things and different perspectives are provided. But so that's great. There's no problem with that. But the issue that I noticed was, many times what is discussed is a whole litany of problems. And they're kind of vague. There are problems, but really at the end of the day, it related to a bigger problem. And I guess if I can articulate this better, it's that a lot of times there's a problem of focus, right? Lack of focus, to be clear. And so there's ideas and options to go in a bunch of different directions, right? And that's typically the kind of question that gets asked or the struggle that happens. It's like, I need to reach this goal and I've got all these options and I'm doing all these things and I've got all this stuff going on. What do I do? Right. And if you cut through that, if you look at, well, what's going on there? Why would there be so many options, or why are you doing all of these different things? Because many times when you're doing a lot of different things to reach one goal, you end up with all the symptomatic problems of, of approaching all of those different things. So you're now multiplying the symptoms, multiplying the problems, and it's a bigger thing. So how do you move up the chain, right? To the source of the actual issues? And this is mentioned a lot of times by people that have been through this and that can see this clearly. And it was brought up in this mastermind sometimes. But the problem was, with more ideas and more people speaking, it can be taken up the chain to, maybe the bigger issue is this, but then other ideas come up and people start talking. And next thing you know, the person in the hot seat is back into this whole thinking of all these other things that they need to do. Right. And you can just see the overwhelm and the mind cranking, and there's no clarity, right? It's like, when you see somebody get clarity because they're like, and there's no more rapid speaking, it's just like, oh, that's it. Right. That feeling. I'm sure you've had it yourself, and I hope you have it often. But when the mind is just like turning over and cranking, and you're thinking all these different things, and that overwhelm sets in, you're not, it's just difficult to really cut through that clutter. And so what I wanted to speak about today with regards to that is, looking at, where does everything need to start? And I actually did this episode 2 episodes ago. I think it was episode 216. Where are you going? I think that one is a great episode to go back to if you didn't listen to it, because a lot of times the source of the issue is, and this is what was raised sometimes during these hot seats of this mastermind, was, what is your business, right? You are saying that you do this, this, and this, and you want to do this other thing, and all this other thing is going on. What is your business? Like, what is it that you focus on, right? Because you need to get things cranking and working really well, and get that one thing kind of predictable for you, so that you got stability and consistency in your business. And then you can look at branching on other things while you maintain and make sure that thing keeps going, right? But a lot of us shiny object entrepreneur stuff going on tend to, get excited about another thing, right? And so we end up with these problems. What is the business that you're in? What is your vision for your life? And that's what that episode 216, flippingjunkie.com/216 is all about. Figuring out, where it is you're going. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your business to look like? What do you want your work to look like? Because at the end of the day, that's what all these decisions should be based on. When there's a shiny object out there getting your attention, you can put it through the filter of, is this serving me getting to that place that I want to be? Is this moving me closer to that, right? Because when you know where you're going, when you go to masterminds, which I think all of us should be, right? Going to masterminds, talking with other investors and getting this feedback. But we need to have a filter. We need to have a way to go, hey, that's a shiny object. I love that. Does that bring me closer to my goal faster? And if not, I can just file it away in a note and not worry about it, right? And not feel like I'm missing out, that whole FOMO thing going on. Because I know that what I'm doing is driving me to this goal that I have, right? And if you're not clear on that's the first thing to do, right? Because maybe that's the thing that should be raised in the hot seat. I'm not sure what I want. Let's dig into what that might be and figure out how to do it. Because a lot of this other stuff is really just a waste of time if it's not getting you closer every single week, every month, every year to what you're actually trying to do, right? So you got to know what you're trying to do. In that episode, I do talk about how it can be difficult to map out that for any length of time, because you feel like things change so much. I can't see that far into the future. Well, you got to attempt to, and obviously it will change over time, but at least you got something that's guiding you to help you filter all of these ideas through, so that you're focused, right? And then you're only looking at, what is the thing that's going to move the needle the most for me to get me closer to my goal, and let me do that instead of worrying about all this other stuff, right? So that's the homework for everybody, right? Is to really spend some time, go somewhere different. Don't just sit at your office or do something that you normally do and try to think about this thing like right in this moment. Even if you don't normally go to a coffee shop or something like that, go to a coffee shop, sit there by yourself and have some quiet time. Go to a library, do something, go to a park, sit on a bench, enjoy some time outside, and sit there and really consider, do I know where I'm going? Is what I'm doing and what I'm working on right now getting me closer to that? Or am I dealing with some things that are not getting me closer to what I'm trying to do? And then what can I do to get clarity on that? Right? That's the first thing. That's the big domino. If you get that big domino knocked over, you're going to free up a bunch of time to really focus on the things that are going to move the needle. And guess what? Every single day feels that much better, because instead of being burned out, overwhelmed, you can look back at the end of the day and say, man, look at what I accomplished. I got even closer to my goal today. I moved the needle. I did some stuff. Yeah, some other things came up and I dealt with those. But at the beginning of the day, I had my priority to do these things that really got me closer to where I want to be. And another great book to mention in this episode related to that is The Gap and the Gain. And that's really all around at the end of each day, looking back and saying, what did I accomplish today? Because a lot of us are looking to this ideal of where we want to be. That's usually very vague, right? This idea of financial freedom or something like that, or time freedom. And it's a very vague idea, and we're gauging where we are now to that. And there's a big gap, right? And the ideal is something that should be so ideal that you never achieve it, right? It's the thing that keeps you just going and progressing in life and being all that you can be. But you know, it creates that gap mentality and feeling and stress and anger and frustration a lot of times if you've been in that gap for a long time. And I know I have. I've got these goals, and you know, they were pretty darn vague for a long time. And so that's what was happening. It was kind of stressful all the time. And that's where burnout happens. But then, you know, going back now and looking at, wow, look how far I've come. It's kind of amazing that we don't do this automatically. You know, I wish all of us did, but, you know, looking at how far we've come and doing that each day at the end of the day, you know, look at the things that happened today that were really awesome, that got done, new opportunities that came up or things like that. And then it just changes everything in the outlook and gets more excitement and energy and motivation to move forward on the next day. So I hope this helps everyone get some clarity. Remember, do some thinking through this, right? Do some thinking time, and you know, really look at if you have a clear path of where you're trying to go and whether the things that you're doing are aligned with that, or you're just taking on things that are shiny and exciting, but don't fit into that moving the needle and making progress for you each day. So everybody have a great week. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're enjoying the podcast, especially like these leadership lessons that I'm going to start doing, and I really want to stick with this, go ahead and head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to this and leave a rating and review for the podcast. I really do appreciate that. I hadn't looked in a long time, but I did look yesterday at those rating reviews, and some people have left some recently. And I just love, you know, reading those and hearing those, because I'm recording these episodes and putting them out, but there's no back and forth. It's just me putting them out. And so that's how I get my feedback. It's like, oh, awesome. It is resonating with people. Thank you guys so much for leaving those ratings and reviews that I can read through. It means the world to me, and it really does. It helps me to get excited about putting out more great content for you, like these episodes. So thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. And talk to you next time. Bye.